All right, housing decisions, renting versus buying. Why you should prefer renting over buying. So a couple of reasons are there's a lower upfront cost. So what this means is when you buy a house, you have to put in a sizable down payment. But when you lease or rent a apartment or like a house, you don't need to put a down payment. You just need to start paying rent by the month or by the week or however the payment plan is. And also you have flexibility to leave the place. So let's just say you were to buy the house and if you want to leave the house, you would have to put the house up for sale and then you would have to wait for a buyer and there's a lot of steps and lots of time involved. But if you're renting a house, you can just tell your landlord that you want to leave and then the landlord will let you leave and you can just leave as quickly and as efficiently as possible. You can also avoid maintenance responsibilities because the maintenance responsibilities are mostly covered by the landlord because it's technically the landlord's property still. So and as long as you don't damage the property, the maintenance costs go to the landlord. And next up, a really important thing is there are some rental contract terms that any renter needs to know. So the first term is a lease term, which is the duration of the rental agreement. Then there's something called security deposit, which is money held by a landlord to cover damages. And there's a grace period, which is time allowed for late payments without penalties. And then actually staying on grace period, you shouldn't keep abusing the idea of a grace period because eventually your landlord will not like the fact that you're not paying on time and eventually you will lose this privilege of having grace period. And then it will lead to de-eviction, which is the legal process to remove tenants for contract violations. All right. Preferring housing institutions preferring buying over renting. So some benefits of buying a house would be building equity. So if you own a home, it allows you to build equity over time as you pay down your mortgage. So the more mortgage you pay off, the more equity you get. You get stability. So when you pay off your mortgage, it's fixed payments compared to like rent because rent fluctuates over time due to the economy. So especially because of inflation, rent will increase because of like water costs, electricity costs, and like maintenance costs. So the landlord is completely allowed to raise the rent, but a mortgage can never be raised. And there's also appreciation potential. So because a house is like built on land, the value of the land and the value of the property itself too increases over time. But you can't increase the value of your apartment. And there's also personalization and controls. So you can do whatever you want with your house. You can like put in nails, you can like build like a nice patio, you can build a nice backyard. But obviously for apartment, you can't do that because the landlord controls the physical properties of the room. There's also tax benefits. So you get like tax deductions for your mortgage, interest, and property taxes. So you would get tax benefits for owning a home rather than like renting a house. All right, next up is donations. So donations are always a good thing, and a couple of motivations and benefits you can get from donations is you can help others by contributing to the cause. So you can like donate to the Red Cross. Like donations don't necessarily always have to be money. It'd also be like donating blood, or like donating bone marrow, but donating money is like the most common form of donation. You can also, via donations, you can also get tax benefits. So you can get some tax exempt because you donate, because of donations, because the government encourages consumers to donate more. You can also get like personal satisfaction. You just consider yourself as like a better person after making that donation. And so some charitable organizations, like I said before, Red Cross, that's like primarily disaster relief. There's also something called Habitat for Humanity, which is known for affordable housing projects. You get World Wildlife Fund, which is like environmental conservationists. So like they protest climate change, they protest cutting down trees, etc. So before you donate, I strongly encourage you to research the organization because obviously you don't want to donate to an organization that doesn't use your money for its correct purposes, and you want to like research the organization so you get you would help people with your money. So verify the organization's legitimacy and review how the donations are spent, and check for any tax exempt status if you want that tax benefit from the donation.
So now we're going to be talking about consumer protections, the rules, laws, and agencies for that. So starting off, we have the Federal Trade Commission, also known as the FTC, and it protects consumers from deceptive advertising, fraud, and unfair business practices. It enforces laws such as the Truth in Advertising Act and helps fight scams. There's also the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which is the CFPB, which ensures fair practices in financial products, protecting consumers from predatory lending, hidden fees, and misleading services. It also offers financial education and resolves consumer complaints. And then the last one is state consumer affairs offices, which they handle consumer complaints and enforce state laws on issues such as fraud and unfair practices. They also assist consumers with disputes and can help take care of legal action when required.
All right, common types of fraud. So one really common type of fraud would be online scams. So where you go to like fake websites or like pirating websites and you would accidentally click on something you're not supposed to click on, and then that software would be downloaded onto your computer, which would cause that scam and like take your credit card information, whatever information's on your computer. There's also phishing emails, so like emails that look like legit, but when you click on and open it, that viruses or whatever phishing spreads onto your computer. There's also phone solicitations, so like scam calls, where people would like pose as like let's just say tech support. They would pose as tech support, but in reality they're not tech support. They're just trying to get as much information on you as possible, especially your bank account information or your credit card information. There's also something called redlining, which is discriminatory practices in lending or housing based on race or location. So this is like very wrong. It's pretty illegal, and it's a really common type of fraud because they would sort of try to upcharge you or like change the price based on like race. Help for fraud victims. So when you get into a case of fraud, the first thing you should do is obviously report the issue. You should report the issue to the FTC or the Federal Trade Commission, or you can also report the issue to any local consumer protection agencies. And after you report the issue, that's when you have to go through a lot of paperwork, such as filing disputes. So this is especially prevalent in the case of credit card fraud, where you should contact your bank or credit card company to sort of dispute any fraudulent charges. Like if someone were to take your credit card and start doing any charges on that card, you should definitely contact your bank or credit card to make sure that these charges, you don't have to pay for these charges because you didn't make these charges. And then lastly, you should also seek legal advice. So talk to lawyers and explore any legal options that you should explore in case this fraud case becomes really large and really big. And then that's when you should bring in a lawyer, especially if it's like in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Section 3, Topic 9. How can external influences such as peers, family, or social media impact personal savings decisions? If peers are spending money on a certain thing, or if a person sees something on social media, they may be encouraged to purchase it. Family members often influence the kind of financial education their children receive. Family spending habits are similar. What are some strategies to manage psychological and emotional obstacles to saving? You should be aware of your spending habits and set a budget and realistic financial goals for yourself. Also, when going on social media, which is unavoidable these days, be aware of marketing tactics used by companies before purchasing an item. What are some strategies for avoiding personal triggers that result in deviating from a savings plan? Figure out what makes you want to spend more money, then respond to those feelings. Consider whether it is really necessary to spend on that item. Think before you spend. Try to avoid triggers after identifying them. This is not possible in the case of social media, but recognizing marketing tactics can help you identify whether you really need the product or not. How can the saving strategy pay yourself first help people achieve their saving goals? This involves people setting aside some money every time they earn it. It allows saving to become a habit, which is good for your financial health.